You cannot talk your way out of the freeze response. I will have clients that have come to me that just say, talk therapy just isn't working. I still feel so unmotivated. I still feel so stagnant, so stuck in my life, and nothing's changing. It all starts with the body. You have to start with your body in order to mobilize and move forward from a freeze response. The first thing that is so important to do is first recognize what triggers you to move into the freeze response and what does the freeze response feel like in your body. Hi, my loves. Welcome to Body Wisdom, your podcast for all things related to nervous system regulation, feeling grounded in your body, and improving your relationships. I'm your host, Courtney Beyer, a holistic occupational therapist and yoga instructor based in Southern California. I am incredibly passionate about helping women connect to their mind, body, and soul to heal from trauma and truly thrive in their lives. If that sounds like you, you are in the right place. So grab your headphones and let's dive into today's episode. Hi, loves, and welcome back to another episode of the Body Wisdom Podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. And today's episode, I'm really excited to talk about. I actually get quite a lot of questions about this topic, and that is how to navigate and move out of the freeze response. One thing that I'm noticing that is happening is so many more people are starting to become aware and knowledgeable about the nervous system. They are discovering and learning that a lot of times when they feel unmotivated, stuck, stagnant, more symptoms associated with depression, that it's actually not quite depression, but it's actually their nervous system stuck in the freeze response. Or maybe when they get stressed out, their mode of dealing with stress is to shut down and go into that more freeze response. So I want to talk about this response pattern today because I think it's really important to understand not only what's happening in your brain and to understand how you got here, why maybe this freeze response is your body's method of dealing with stress, but how to move forward when you feel frozen and stuck. Because I know that so many of my clients have expressed to me that, they're feeling really down on themselves because they feel very unmotivated and they feel really stuck. And this is really difficult for them. They think about several years ago or even just last year when they felt a little bit more like themselves and they were so motivated and taking action felt really easy. And they felt as though they never had this issue of feeling really stuck and stagnant. And so now maybe they're finding themselves more in this stressed, stuck, and frozen state. And it's very confusing. It's hard to know how to move forward because, as I'll explain later in the podcast, but a lot of traditional advice for how to deal with stress is counterproductive when you are actually in the freeze response. So I really believe that this podcast will be so encouraging for you if you feel like you are unmotivated, that you feel heavy, you feel like the weight of the world on you and you're having a difficult time moving forward and feeling like yourself. I feel like this podcast will be so nourishing for you. And if you don't know this already, I actually spent many years working as a traditional occupational therapist in rehabilitation settings, neurorehabilitation settings, in the ICU, in trauma hospitals. And I have worked with a lot of people that have experienced really big traumas, really big accidents that are incredibly life-altering, or maybe they are facing a life-changing diagnosis that changes the way and has altered the way that they are showing up in their physical, emotional, mental, cognitive bodies. Something that I always found so interesting, and this was when I was first starting out as an OT in these trauma hospitals and worked with some really intense cases of people that got into major accidents. They were hooked up to so many different tubes, everything. I noticed that often when I would go into the room and introduce myself to the patient oftentimes their family as well, I would let them know what the plan was, which was often, let's get out of bed and see how you do with standing up and doing some things for yourself. This every time triggers a very stressed out reaction. And I noticed that a lot of these people, a lot of my patients would go completely frozen out of fear because asking them to move when they had maybe a cast or fractures or just went through a surgery that stabilized their life, they were frozen out of fear that I was going to get them up and get them moving. I found that once we got to this place of being able to move, even if that just meant rolling to the edge of the bed and sitting up at the edge of the bed, I noticed that once they started moving, they were able to start talking more and they were able to process some of the trauma of the accident they were in. I have had so many people, once we started to move in their OT session with me, they would start processing their emotional experience about the accident and they would talk about what happened, all of the details. And this would happen without me necessarily even asking. It was just an automatic response that once they started moving their bodies and got into their bodies, they were able to process some of their trauma. They were not in that state of frozen, shock, numbed state. And I always found that so interesting. And it gave me so much more awareness about how to help people move through this freeze response. And I want to talk more about how to realistically take actionable steps when you find yourself in this frozen state of being. But first, it's important to talk a little bit about what is going on in your brain and how did you get here in the first place. So let's talk a little bit about your brain in the freeze response. So when you experience a stressful moment, and this stressful moment can be anything. It can be a big traumatic accident, like what I just talked about, or it can be something like getting a negative comment on your Instagram. It can be getting an email from your boss that says they would like to schedule a meeting with you and you have no idea what that meeting is about. It can be you witnessed an accident out in the community. It can be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be something really big. It can even be the sound of your phone and you heard that you got a text message. When you experience this stressful moment, the oldest part of your brain takes over and the higher part of your brain shuts down. So that's what happens in a freeze response. And often the reason why this happens is because over time, your body has experienced chronic stress. And you might have experienced some sort of really big traumatic event in your life. And now, after years of feeling this chronic stress in your body starts to shut down and dissociate from your body because your body can't really handle the stress anymore. So it goes into this survival shutdown state. And this can be helpful. This is a survival strategy. For example, we'll talk about, again, my patients in the hospital when they went through a big accident and broke several bones in their bodies, their body was protecting them from the trauma by dissociating and numbing from their body so they wouldn't have to remember this traumatic experience, and also so that they could get through all of the pain and be able to navigate that big trauma. So it is a very important survival strategy in our brain. Your old brain was developed when you were an infant, and this includes your reptilian brain. And your old brain is in control of your breathing, eating, sleeping, going to the bathroom, all of these necessary things to stay alive. And it also includes the limbic system. And the limbic system is in control of your emotions. It monitors your environment constantly for cues of danger. Both of these structures together is your emotional brain. Now, your higher brain develops a little bit later in life, and that includes also your prefrontal cortex, your frontal lobe, which actually doesn't fully develop until you're at the age of 26. But your higher brain is your conscious mind. It's the part of your brain that you use for executive functioning skills, like controlling your emotions, doing things like being able to zoom out and seeing the bigger picture in life. It's the part of your brain that you use for rationalizing. It's the part of your brain that you use for planning, organizing, higher level thinking tasks. So that part of your brain totally shuts off. And the part of your brain that takes over is the survival brain. So, again, the reason why your older brain takes over is because you might have experienced a lot of stress over time. And so your body starts to shut down. And this is a survival strategy to protect you from potential threats. For example, let's say you're with your husband and he says something to you that's very triggering and it makes you just totally shut down, where you kind of feel numb, limp in your body, and you're unable to respond because the part of your brain that you need to communicate, it turns off. So you're unable to communicate. And a lot of times I've noticed that people might have a lot of judgment towards themselves. Like, why couldn't I just say this? Like, it would have gone so much better. Instead, I just went numb. So it's important to have a lot of grace and compassion for yourself, because this is happening in your brain because of maybe long-term stress, or maybe something that happened to you when you were a child, and the part of your brain that is constantly scanning your environment for cues of safety or cues of danger picked up on a threat. And what happened in your brain is just something that you can't really control, but you can learn how to manage it. And we all have a different perception of what that means. Trauma and life experiences alter what our bodies perceive as safe and unsafe. So this will look different for every person. This is why public speaking is terrifying for somebody. And while it might not be that bad for somebody else, or somebody else might even enjoy it, this is also why getting on an airplane or getting on a roller coaster is terrifying for somebody, and somebody else might really enjoy it. So we are all so unique and different. And it's always important to remember that there is no exact definition of what trauma means. And it is so different to everybody because we all have an incredibly unique life experience. Some symptoms of being in the freeze response is going to be feeling heavy in your body, especially if you used to wake up in the morning bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but now you're waking up in the morning and you're having a really difficult time getting your day going, and you're having a difficult time doing things that were once easy for you, and you just feel an overall heaviness in your life. You might also feel essentially frozen from the sensations in your body. You might not feel your legs on the ground. You might feel disconnected from your body, and you might have a tightness in your chest. You might also feel dissociated from yourself, where you kind of feel like you're over on one side of the room and your body is on the complete opposite side of the room. Something else that can happen is you might have a difficult time remembering things. Your memory might be a little bit foggy because of that dissociation. So it's going to look different on everybody. It's really important to work with a skilled provider that can help you recognize what this frozen response looks like. In my patients that I work with, a lot of times they might be telling me a really traumatic story and their face is totally just frozen. For example, they might say something like, "I'm so angry at this person. What they did is so horrible. They should be in jail." Instead of expressing that with a lot of emotion, they're just very flat in the way that they are speaking. And this is because they are so frozen that it's difficult to show that emotion. So now let's talk about some actionable steps that you can take if you're noticing that you often resort to the freeze response when you experience stress in your body. If you have been loving this episode so far and you're really desiring to take this work a step deeper, I invite you to my program, the Body Focused Healing Program for Anxious Attachment. I love this group so much because it is actually a hybrid group program and one-on-one with me. So you have access to my course, Choosing Her, which will help you move through nervous system regulation and healing your anxious attachment style. And you also get a one-on-one session with me where you get to create a custom nervous system healing map, which is so helpful and is something that all of my one-on-one clients use truly in every aspect of their lives. I definitely recommend hopping in this program if this episode is really resonating with you. Head over to my Instagram and send me a DM if you are interested. All right, let's get back to the episode. Here's the thing, you cannot think your way out of the freeze response. You cannot talk your way out of it. You can't think your way out of it. This is why I never recommend meditating to people that are stuck in that frozen response. And there's a lot that goes into that, but one of the biggest thing is that meditating keeps your body immobile, and the idea is, to relax, get in your body. And that is not going to be helpful if you are mostly operating in the freeze response. That's a great option for if you are constantly in the more fight flight response where you're very reactive and you're mobilized and you just want to run. Meditating is a great option, but in the freeze response, it's just going to keep you even more numb. When you are in the freeze response, you're unable to clearly connect with your thoughts. And it's very difficult to connect with your thoughts. You cannot talk your way out of the freeze response. I will have clients that have come to me that just say, talk therapy just isn't working. I still feel so unmotivated. I still feel so stagnant, so stuck in my life, and nothing's changing. It all starts with the body. You have to start with your body in order to mobilize and move forward from a freeze response. The first thing that is so important to do is first recognize what triggers you to move into the freeze response and what does the freeze response feel like in your body. What I work with my clients is we work on identifying, first of all, what brings them, what triggers them into the freeze response specifically, and then what specific things are happening in their body that they can recognize, oh, okay, I'm starting to dissociate. I'm starting this dorsal vagal shutdown mode, which is the freeze response, because you are able to kind of catch yourself and notice when you are in that frozen state. And then you can do the things that specifically help your unique nervous system guide yourself to a place of feeling okay. So it all begins with being an expert scanner at your nervous system state. And once you start to recognize what exactly is triggering you into this frozen shutdown state, you can healthfully avoid some of those triggers for the time being and be able to help yourself move forward so that you're not constantly putting yourself in that frozen shutdown state. The next thing that is so helpful in moving forward from the freeze response is inviting small movements into your routine. This is why, going back to the beginning of this podcast, when I talked about my clients, my patients in the hospital that experienced really big trauma, and then they were able to process so much of their pain and emotions after they started to move their bodies, is because small movements help you get into your body and connect with your body. And for my patients in the hospital, this looked like getting out of bed. But for somebody that did not go through a physically traumatic event, and for them, it's going to look like maybe even taking a big full body stretch. Maybe it's going to be doing some really gentle somatic exercises, some gentle stretching. Maybe it looks like even starting with your voice and making some sound like humming, singing, talking to yourself, anything that starts to get your body moving. And this can also look like going on a walk, going on a run, exercising. This all helps you to not feel so stuck and unmotivated, because what's going to make everything so much worse is by not moving your body and by kind of staying in it, allowing yourself to stay in this kind of stuck state. Start with something small. You can even invite some shaking. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see me shaking my arms, squeezing your legs, squeezing your thighs. That's an amazing one because that helps you connect to the lower half of your body, which is your sense of safety. That's going to be your grounding in your body. It can look like tapping your chest, tapping your arms, squeezing your arms, tapping on your face, on your jaw, your forehead, the top of your head, the back of your head. Sometimes your body will just invite you to do some sort of movement and you're kind of thinking, oh, that's weird, but nothing is weird. Maybe you just want to take a big stretch, open your arms out wide, and then give yourself a really big hug. It can look like any kind of movement. And exercise, again, is so important. Lifting weights, that gives the body some really good feedback, proprioception in your joints. Find anything that you enjoy doing. If you love being around nature, then go for a hike. If you like being around horses, maybe sign up for horseback riding lessons. Anything that keeps your body moving will help you process your trauma, process your emotions. It all starts with the body. And the third thing that can be so helpful to help your body move out of this frozen, dissociated state is to think about something that brings you a feeling of safety. So, just as thinking about something stressful or a stressful moment can trigger you into that shutdown collapse mode, thinking about something that brings you joy can bring you to a sense of feeling safe and can invite that feeling of safety in your body. These are also called glimmers. So, what I love to do with my clients is sometimes we will do a full body scan and we will scan for areas of the body that feel good, even if it's just a little good. It can be like one cell in your body that feels okay. It doesn't have to feel great, but it can feel okay. So maybe you feel this little flicker in your left hip and it feels good, or maybe you feel something in your stomach or your heart and it doesn't feel so bad. And I want you to focus on that area of your body and watch it expand. You can also look for things in your environment, such as a plant in your room, or maybe you're looking out the window, you see the sun, or even if you look at something in your home that brings you that level of safety in your body, and think about something that brings you to feeling okay in your body. That can help you feel safe and it can help you start to mobilize and move out of that frozen stuck. It just takes one little somatic practice where you move your body and not even a specific way, but you're squeezing your thighs, you're getting up and going, and that can change your whole day. So it's really important to be able to be an investigator in your body and recognize if, let's say, you're sitting on the couch and you're feeling just really unmotivated. Start to question, am I unmotivated or am I just avoiding something that I know I need to do and I'm really stressed out about it. So I want to just freeze and not work towards it because it's stressing me out. So there's kind of two ways of looking at it. You don't want to shame yourself and think, oh, I'm just such an unmotivated, unproductive person. That's not the case. The reality is you are feeling stressed about something or something happened that stressed you out and you're frozen and having a difficult time moving forward. And it's important to know how to best support your body so that you can function at your best in life. You can feel more ease in your body. You can feel good in your relationships and you can feel like you have more autonomy over your body rather than your body just kind of taking over and determining whether or not you're going to feel stuck and stagnant today. And knowing that you can fully shift how you feel in your body. And then that is going to change how you show up in your life and the thoughts that you have about yourself, your life, the world, others, and your life. It's so important to learn how to best support your body because we are constantly flowing in and out of all three of these nervous system states: the shutdown state, the fight flight response, and the safe and social state. And if you do have some questions about what the heck are you just talking about, listen to episode 6. I'll link it in the show notes. It is Nervous System Regulation 101. It's a great place to begin if you're curious about what all of this means and where to start and how to bring some of this into your daily life. So, again, I want you to drop all of the judgment and shame that you have over thinking that you are stagnant, stuck, unmotivated, lazy. You are most likely just stuck in a freeze shutdown state after dealing with so much stress in your life. And it's so important to understand that this is your brain surviving. Your brain was developed all since you were in your mother's womb to you now as the fully integrated adult. And your brain is going to prioritize your safety over everything else. So if you are experiencing something that your brain is alerting you, this is not safe, it's going to go into this frozen state of being. And it's important to have so much compassion for yourself that this is something that you can change, that it's something that you can learn how to better support your nervous system in your daily life, and that there are actionable steps that you can take, like being a witness to the sensations in your body and understanding when you are in this frozen state. You can invite small movements in your daily routine to help bring your body out of this stuck state. And you can also think about things that bring you a sense of peace and safety within your body so that you can move forward and not feel like you are controlled by this stagnant feeling that is the freeze response. So I hope that you found this episode helpful. I want to let you know that you are not alone. This is something that so many people, I find, especially after 2020, the pandemic, are faced with because of how much stress we are constantly exposed to in the world. You are not alone. If you have any questions about the freeze response state, I would love to hear from you. Send me a DM on Instagram and we can chat about how my therapeutic mentorship program can be really helpful for you to get out of this feeling of feeling stuck in your life. Okay, my loves, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I really love hearing from you all about how the show resonated with you and would love it if you sent me a DM on Instagram to @herbodywisdom to keep the convo going. If you are loving the show, it would mean so much to me if you left a quick rating and review on Apple or Spotify. Thank you so much for listening. Catch you next time.